Namaskar and welcome to Sunset Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of all key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the issue of energy conservation. Now, energy is a fundamental need for the essential services of cooking, heating, cooling, lighting, mobility, operation of appliances, information and communication technology, and machines in every sector of every country. The lack of access to reliable and clean energy supplies is now considered as a major barrier to improving human well-being around the globe. Energy conservation and energy efficiency go a long way in tackling several challenges related to this aspect. It can be done by using less energy to avoid the unnecessary uses of energy and save it for the future usage. Global energy conservation has a tremendous potential to boost economic growth and avoid greenhouse gas emissions as well. India embarked on implementing energy conservation measures more than 2 decades ago, and since then has established a clear policy architecture for promoting energy conservation. Many of these initiatives have resulted in substantial energy saving and consequently lowered the carbon dioxide or CO2 emissions as well. Today, we will discuss and analyze all aspects of this issue. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts today. Let me first introduce all of them to all of you. We have with us Mr. Amar Nath, the Additional Secretary and Vice Chairman of Petroleum Conservation Research Association, that is PCRA. We're also joined by Mr. Abhay Bakre, Director General of the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Dr. Mukesh Sharma is also joining us. He's a professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at IIT Kanpur. And so is Dr. Pradipto Ghosh, who is joining us from TERI, Distinguished Fellow of TERI and former Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Sunset TV. Let me begin with you, Mr. Bakre, and let's start by first understanding the very concept of energy conservation and energy efficiency. I have made some references, but for our viewers to understand in a much detailed way, why is it that we keep on talking about conserving energy, making it, the usage more efficient, and how does it help us?
Namaskar. Thank you, Vishal. The energy efficiency basically means that we try to get more and more outcome, more and more output or extra services without increasing the use of energy. So the energy efficiency is applicable for every citizen in our day-to-day life, whether it's cooking, travel, or even industry or heating, etc. Mm-hmm. As we know that energy conservation is a much broader term where we not only talk about energy efficiency, that means using the optimum energy for getting our services, but at the same time we should use the type of energy, the resources, the type of fuel very judiciously and try to use such kind of energy source or fuel which is having the least impact on the environment. Okay. As you rightly said, that the cost for climate change and a developing country like India, the 76% of our global the greenhouse gas emissions come from energy sector. So in that regard, the energy conservation and energy efficiency has a very key role to play for our overall journey, what we call it an energy transition. That means not only using the energy source very wisely with the highest efficiency, but at the same time by using with the minimum impact on the environment. Okay. So as you mentioned that 20 years back, the 2 decades back, we had this Energy Conservation Act promulgated by the Parliament, and the Bureau of Energy Efficiency was set up in that. We have different policies formulated under the Act. We have rolled out many programs. And now we have seen a lot of impact and outcome for these programs, okay, especially on the demand side, benefiting every citizen, every consumer from the key sectors of economy.
Okay. We'll come to the impact part a bit later, Mr. Bakre. First, we have to understand much better, in a much better sense as to what are we trying to, discuss and analyze here. Then I'd like to bring in other panelists as well. Dr. Ghosh, I'd like to bring you first here in terms of your views on the aspect of energy efficiency and conservation. The overall idea seemingly is to make optimum utilization of the energy which we have, but it's not limited to that.
Well, it is certainly not limited to that because, although Mr. Bakre gave a very comprehensive overview of the importance of energy conservation, I think he did not refer to one critical aspect, and that is the strategic aspect. India is a very highly petroleum imports reliant country. Also, we import coal to a very significant extent, and we're also very much dependent on natural gas imports. And by reaching our maximum potential in terms of energy conservation, consistent with the economic costs of doing so, we will be able to reduce our reliance on imports of such energy.
Okay.
And as we know that the dependence on foreign imports of fossil energy can have very significant strategic aspects. And in any event, the fact is that there is a history of disruption of the global energy supplies, and we should try and immunize ourselves from this disruption, which does not lie in our hands, to the extent that is possible. And energy conservation is certainly one of the key instruments in enabling us to do so.
Okay. Since you mentioned the petroleum products there, let me bring in Mr. Amarnath. Mr. Amarnath, vis-a-vis what Dr. Ghosh is pointing out, this becomes really crucial from a strategic point of view and also from the larger issue of climate change or the related aspects which the entire world has been battling, and so has India.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 points which are mentioned, the energy conservation as a larger perspective that Mr. Bakre mentioned, and what Mr. Ghosh mentioned, that from strategic point of view, it's extremely crucial for us to focus on the conservation part. We import almost 85% of our requirement of the petroleum products. And keeping that in mind, we need to focus on different sectors who are using energy. And I can say with our own experience here, even large industries, they are not aware of the conservation aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And we focus on that, and when we point out and we conduct audit of them, then they realize what is the potential of that. So I will just give one example of like our own refineries, because they are part of the making petroleum products, but they themselves were not too much aware that in the making of petroleum products, they are also using energy. So we focus on that part. Then citizen awareness, like in our households, all of us use cooking stoves, but we never focus what is the efficiency of those cooking stoves. Now we are shifting from LPG to PNG. We are using the same stoves,
mm-hmm.
but we don't know what is the efficiency of that. So when we focus on all aspects of these, then we realize there is a tremendous scope, and we in the ministry are crucially aware of this aspect, and we are continuously looking. But there is a tremendous scope in the energy conservation space on which we are trying to focus.
Okay, indeed, there is a lot of scope of improvement out there, and various measures, various means as well. One of them, perhaps Dr. Sharma can throw some light on that aspect. In terms of Dr. Sharma, ensuring various ways of conserving energy or using it efficiently. The one immediate way closer home might be to look at how we build our homes. One, how we utilize energy in our homes for various tasks which might not seem so important to us in our daily life, but if we start conserving energy or using it efficiently there, it will make a lot of impact.
Absolutely. Actually, things are pretty well covered. Even the strategic point is important. But you see, what's going to happen is that we are going to grow very rapidly. Our energy requirements will go up. And Mr. Amarnath talked about the sector-wise, but the building sector is one of the most important sector, which is going to grow tremendously. The reason is the country today, we have about 30% urbanization, and by 2050, we will probably 55 or 60% urbanize. It means the urban area require much more energy in the buildings. So building is the one sector which will consume the significant amount of the energy that we're going to produce. And at the same time, building also provides, in the form of the green building, tremendous potential for the energy savings and in those buildings. And these are the figures which I'm saying 50%. In fact, I can share our personal thing. That first green building, probably the first green buildings in the country that was built at IIT Kanpur, we could, at least we demonstrated something like 59% reduction in the energy requirement, having gone green from the traditional building of the same size. So I think that sector is one of the going to be most important when we talk about the energy conservation, not only now, but for the coming future.
Okay, indeed. Let me take that to Mr. Bakre as well. Mr. Bakre, do you agree that that is one very important aspect that is ensuring that we have energy efficient buildings or green buildings? That, of course, and in your earlier response, you're talking about the kind of impact which has been vis-a-vis the policies which have been followed for the past 2 decades or so. Where do we stand? What are the kind of improvements which have happened? And what's the road forward from here onwards? What needs to be done from your perspective?
Yeah, thank you. Let me just pick up your first question about the building sector. As rightly said by Professor Mukesh Sharma, the building sector is one where a lot of work has just started. And I think the next 1 decade will be crucial for the building sector point of view. As rightly said, we have almost 1 billion square meter of commercial building yet to be built in the next 10 to 12 years. We also have another 3 billion square meter of residential floor area yet to be built in next 2 decades. Now, today we have building sector around 34% of energy consumption basket. That is about 24 is commercial and 24 is residential, another 10% commercial building.
Okay.
But by the end of this decade, we are going to have building sectors surpassing the industry sector. So industry sector currently at 45% will be the second largest. So the building will become the single largest sector. And in that regard, the construction of energy efficient building is definitely of great importance. In this regard, as the numbers given, maybe about 10 years back or 15 years back, the buildings were constructed with an EPI. What is the measure we call it? The Energy Performance Index, around 180 to 160. That is, this is the watt per meter square of per year kilowatt per square meter in a per year consumption. But today we have buildings designed at 90. Some of the buildings which are coming very close to green buildings are having 40 or 45 EPI. So you can presume almost 70-80% of reduction in the energy consumption from those buildings by sheerly using a much better design aspect, using the natural ventilation, natural lighting, using insulation properly, and also, of course, utilizing the systems like lighting, air conditioning in a much more efficient manner. So that's for the building sector. This is the one sector which has to grow very large in terms of energy efficiency.
Okay.
Overall, we have seen the appliances sector, which is we call it as a domestic household, air conditioners, lighting, LED, including the motors and refrigerators also. That has seen a great success. The star rating program, where now consumer is quite aware. They are not going to purchase the 1-star or 2-star. Even they know that air conditioners with 15,000 more, they can pay. But it is going to pay back in next 5 years. You will get a energy saving of 25,000 rupees.
Okay.
So appliance sector has done really well. Consumers have responded, but mostly in the urban and semi-urban area. Rural area, we yet to percolate in terms of star rating of equipment. Okay. Industrial sector has done good, especially the energy-intensive industries like steel, cement. The cement sector has become almost one of the best in the world. As Mr. Amarnath rightly said, the refineries were initially hesitant, but when they came into the energy efficiency program, they have done really well. Now some of the refineries are almost close to the international benchmark. The steel sector is just following. We are going to catch up the best in the world, followed by textile sector and aluminum sector. So these are some sectors which really done well.
Okay. The
transport is yet to do a lot of work. We have to get the fuel efficiency norms. We have to get into the e-mobility.
Okay.
So that I will come back a little later. But these are the success stories and the priorities in the coming decade.
Okay, indeed, we'll come to that, e-mobility and renewable energy part a bit later. But Bringing you here again, Dr. Ghosh, as Mr. Bakre is pointing out, there seems to be a lot of improvement which has been done in various sectors. What I want to understand from you is, from your perspective, what should be the key focus areas from here onwards? Because we've done a lot, of course, and there is always a scope for improvement because there is a change in technology with passing time and our needs vis-a-vis the usage or consumption of energy also keep on changing.
Well, I think, the big payoffs now will lie in the MSME sectors. Now, Mr. Bakri has very rightly pointed to the cement sector, steel sector, and so on, as having done excellent work in respect of energy conservation, and also, of course, the our program of labeling has had a success far beyond what was envisaged at the time of that the program was started.
Mm-hmm.
In respect of building energy efficiency, there's a checkered history. There has been a lot of resistance in the past from the builders because the adoption of Griha certification and ECBC norms does increase the capital cost of buildings, and they were very, very reluctant to take them on board, to the extent that they lobbied at a very high level to scrap these regulations. But anyway, I think there has been a great deal of consumer awareness, and so the buyers now, have expressed a clear preference in terms of efficient buildings. But to go back to my point, the big payoff now in terms of energy efficiency lies in the MSME sectors.
Okay.
And here the problem is not so much technical as it is in respect of them accessing finances, and through the finances, accessing the available technology.
Okay.
And this requires us to frame policies and regulations, as well as a supportive financial framework, which would enable the MSME framework to also move in the same direction as the large scale industries like cement, steel, and textiles.
Okay. Indeed, that is pretty much clear and fair enough there as well. Dr. Sharma, your views there when we are talking about these various sectors, and coming back to when we are looking at the buildings or the green buildings and the consumer awareness part there as well, it becomes really important because we'll have to keep on evolving new methods, new ways to make not only people aware, but also keep on changing the way we use or consume energy.
Yes, undoubtedly. Of course, the awareness is the one thing I'll slightly say about the awareness. You see, it's not only the builders who have to come forward, but at the same time, the level at the architect level and the people whom we approach, even for the small building to large building, the architects have to be well aware, well trained, and they are the one who probably guide the people, and they are the one who can convince, even if initially the building costs some extra sort of the expenditure. But what would happen, this also should be made very clear that there's a nice payback period. And essentially at the calculation that we had was about 4 to 5 years is the payback period, and afterwards essentially you do the break even the energy, and you are probably saving the sort of the entire cost. So that is one part, the component, the explaining to the architect, and they eventually explaining to the clientele, because they are the one who is going to adopt this one. And as far as uses are concerned, we have to be a little bit more smart, and the technology has to play a very major role.
Mm-hmm.
For example, certain buildings, the chillers are there, the chillers have to be very efficient. And, sometimes we also have to understand what we call as the energy storage. At times, the buildings or any even the industry for that matter, our energy requirement is diurnally, every hour to hour, it is changing actually.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a chiller or our system, which is sort of, especially the air conditioning part, that is continuously going on. So when the energy requirement is not there, we got to store that energy. Or in fact, even if we go for the solar component, in the solar, the daytime you have the energy, so that needs to be stored.
Okay.
So there are two ways I'll quickly talk about. One is the thermal energy storage, where we have the glycol. There's one medium in which you have the plastic balls. The phase transfer material is there that would store the energy, and when the energy, and it will freeze at about -4 degrees. So that energy would be available when extra energy is required. And
Okay.
similarly, with lithium-ion batteries, you can save store the energy very well. So that component has to be built in.
Okay, okay. Mr. Amarnath, on the renewable energy part, it becomes really important because it provides us with a lot of solutions. So, from your perspective, how can we move ahead? And that, solves a lot of our problems, not only in terms of energy conservation or energy efficiency going forward when the technology improves further, but also in terms of dealing with the issue of climate change.
You are talking of how do we move to the renewable energy?
Yes, renewable
space?
energies. Yes.
Yeah, as all of us are aware that our Prime Minister in Glasgow has announced a very, very ambitious targets for the country, and all of us have started working on that. That is the ultimate panacea as far as conservation of energy is concerned, and we will have to move more rapidly than people are thinking. Whether it is solar energy or wind energy, or we are moving to hydrogen now. Yesterday, we were having one discussion, just to give one example, that Kutch area is one of the area which has tremendous potential for wind energy and solar energy. And there are universities who have developed hydrogen, and we have found some hydrocarbon there.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to think, can we make integrated project in that area? Can we use the existing potential in our areas? So these kind of things which we are trying to work out, that how do we integrate the renewable energy into the existing systems?
Mm-hmm.
And as was mentioned, that storage will be one of the components which is essential if we have to use the renewable energies continuously. But I would like to point out one more crucial issues which will become important and which was not there, say, 5 years earlier. And these are digital technologies, which will help us tremendously. Like if we see our energy consumption pattern, all of us start getting ready in the morning and come back in the evening at house. So morning and evenings, there are peaks. So we tend to do all our activities during those hours, like washing our clothes. We try to adjust according to that. But at night, there is a lot of reduction in energy consumption. Now, technology has started coming. The apps have started developing. Very small instruments have come which can be fitted into the households. Then put your clothes in the washing machine. It will start working when the load is lowest. Maybe it might be washing the clothes at 2 a.m. in the morning. So these kind of introduction of the technologies will help in energy conservation. And another issue which is crucial is awareness of the people have to be most important.
Indeed.
Technology will be there, but unless people are aware, behavioral change will be very difficult. And that is one component which all of us will have to work together to make people aware.
Indeed, the use of technology and consumer awareness are two very key components. But coming to you, Mr. Bakre, for quick concluding comments on this aspect of renewable energy, as you earlier also referring to, and as other panelists also pointed out, that would you agree is the solution of most of the issues which we're discussing here?
Actually, renewable energy cannot be the only solution, but that is certainly going to be the now new area where the focus has shifted. As we know, that 20 years back when Energy Conservation Act was published, at that time the sole purpose was to have energy saving. So that means we need to get the fossil fuel as optimum use as possible. But then the Paris Agreement has come. Now we have announced the climate change targets. Now the Glasgow COP26. So the entire shift is now not only on energy conservation, energy efficiency, it is now energy transition. We need to get back from the curtail our fossil fuel consumption, get into the renewables as much as possible, and the latest announcement of the 500 gigawatt. And in that, storage will be the key area because renewable is intermittent. We need to have a storage system. The peaks are different for different season, for the different hours of the day. So storage, whether it's a battery, pump storage, or even now hydrogen as a carrier or any other carrier, the storage will play a big role in that. Yeah,
okay. Dr. Ghosh, you wanted to say something, a quick concluding comment from you before we wrap this discussion?
Yeah. So you see, the point is that, look, does the question of energy conservation become redundant when we have large-scale infusion of renewable energy? And I think that the relevance of energy conservation does not go away, because renewable energies are very capital intensive. And we have to consider that for a unit of energy saved by the conservation route, is that cheaper in terms of capital expenditure vis-a-vis generating that extra energy from the renewable source. So
Okay.
it is ultimately an economic question in the trade-off between energy conservation and renewable energy.
Okay.
So I would submit that we have to consider the two of them in unison, not as as renewable energy supplanting the need for energy conservation.
Okay.
The
Okay. Indeed.
relevance of energy conservation does not go away with the introduction of renewable energy.
Indeed, fair enough. That is a very valid point there. We'll have to look at both these aspects in unison. Thank you so much, Dr. Pradipto Ghosh, Mr. Abhay Bakre, and Mr. Amarnath, and Dr. Mukesh Sharma as well, for sharing your views and insight with our viewers. As our experts were pointing out, energy conservation is an holistic aspect. It involves a lot of issues, and all of them will have to be dealt with simultaneously. Of course, renewable energy does provide us some solutions, but as our experts were pointing out, it does not do away or diminish the importance of energy conservation or energy efficiency as well. And consumer awareness is a very integral part. You and me, we will have to understand that more energy conserved and more it is efficiently used, the more we can use it in the future times as well. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sunset Television. Thank you.